Prey on your insecurities when you go, your agent goes, you gotta do this movie, you gotta do this movie because Arnold's gonna do it. I go, really? Arnold's gonna, I said, I don't think Arnold can do this one because he's playing like an American cop and they don't have German accents. He's just not gonna, because I'm telling you, if you don't do this thing, Stop on My Mama Shoot, he's in. He's in.
Welcome to this bonus episode of Irritable Dad Syndrome. Aren't you special? Now here are your hosts, Mike and Darren.
Speaking of being banned, and this pains me to say this.
Are you banned?
No, I'm not banned.
You're going to talk about Christopher.
I'm going to talk about Christopher Hughes, okay? I think it was episode 2, 3 of our podcast where this jerk got banned from our show, okay? Yeah. He pissed me off because I said something about Chick-fil-A and he tried to be like a funny guy, right? And then he got banned from the podcast because I warned him, and then he just kept going. He just kept pushing. He just kept digging in.
Well, you knew this jerk.
I've known him for quite some time.
I call him a jerk by proxy.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Oh, trust me.
Now, I will say
you don't need to know him to know he's a jerk.
I'll say that every interaction that I've had with Chris Hughes, he's a very polite person.
Right.
He's very nice. He's very kind.
That's what he wants you to think.
But you have a major problem with him.
Well, I'm the one who banned him from the show.
Yeah.
And then you've since agreed, gotten on board, and then you've always agreed with me on why we've banned him.
You know, that was back around episode, like you said, 2, 3. This thing was just starting.
Right.
I didn't want to disagree with you.
Right.
We're 45
now you don't
in.
have a problem with disagreeing with me. Yeah.
Wait until we hit 100. We'll be at each other's throats in these episodes.
I'll be throwing more pins at you.
Exactly. So at this point, I think Chris Hughes is a pretty dope guy.
Well, that leads me to a decision that we've made.
Yes.
So for all the members of this loyalty program,
unanimously.
No, it wasn't. It was close.
Okay.
So we had we talked about this on episode 45.
Yeah.
Had a cookout. Okay.
Exactly.
And you and I were there. Dave Lay was there. Okay. Yeah. We're the 3 primary members of Irritable Dad Syndrome Incorporated.
The 3 voices you hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jason Durbin was there.
Yeah. Another fan.
A major fan.
Major fan.
Jason Durbin has contributed financially to the show. He likes the show so much, he has backed it financially.
Yep.
And Chris Michael, 2-time listener of the week.
Yeah, and owner of a T-shirt.
Yes, yes. So the 5 of us were there, and we had a discussion.
Okay.
And we brought it up. Should we unban Chris Hughes from the podcast? It was a heated discussion. Very, very heated. People vehemently know. There was like one person who I won't name who said, "Why don't we give the guy a shot?" I don't know why he sounded like Jay Leno, but he did. Anyway, we brought it up for a discussion.
Yeah.
We brought it up for a vote. Final vote, 3-2, that Chris Hughes will be unbanned from the podcast.
Yes, a simple majority.
Yeah.
So we don't. It was close. We don't need a super majority for this.
No, we don't.
Irritable Dad Syndrome Incorporated.
The votes win.
Now, I will say that this vote was cast and counted under the influence of
Yingling.
Charred wieners.
Yes.
Charred wieners.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. We were a little sun-baked.
Heat exhaustion.
Yes.
Bone sucking mustard.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot went into this decision. We were not of sound mind.
No, we weren't.
As one would say.
That being said,
however,
still,
we stand by our word.
We stand by the vote.
He's unbanned.
He is unbanned.
So
now I also want to say that just because he's unbanned, that's not permanent.
No.
Okay.
He could be banned again in a heartbeat.
If he starts that again.
Yeah.
He's back on the ban list.
Would you say he's on probation?
I would say so.
So if you go to jail for kidnapping, 10 to 15 years,
they let you out.
They let you out. You don't just
go all willy-nilly, do whatever the hell you want.
And steal somebody again.
Right.
You have to call in to your parole officer and that type of thing.
I think that Chris Hughes should wear an ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really want to know where he is at any given time.
I don't either. But anyway.
But I would think it would be neat.
Yeah.
And you've poo-pooed this idea in the past.
What's that?
It'd be neat to have him on the show.
I'm not having him on our show. I'm just not going to do it.
Welcome to Irritable Dad Syndrome, where we believe in true love. Please welcome your hosts, Mike and Darren, with special guests, Chris and Lisa. With special guests, Chris and Lisa. Chris and Lisa. Chris and Lisa.
Why would I want to have him on the show?
You know.
And Chris Hughes like, hey, everybody, I'm Chris Hughes, and I'm a funny guy, and ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
It's like, if he wants to be on a podcast, he can get his own podcast.
Okay.
And then, you know what? We can call him up.
Okay.
And we can act like, hey, I'm a funny guy.
Well, what's to stop it from just saying he has a podcast and calling in? Because we would know.
Oh, because, I mean, he's never lied before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So things are getting a little, I've hit a nerve, I can tell. I don't know what Chris Hughes did to you in your past.
All I know is Chris Hughes, despite everything, okay, despite being banned from this show, he's banned from the show. So he listened to it against our will.
He was breaking rules.
He liked the show so much, he says, I'm going to listen to it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like during the Prohibition when people made their own alcohol anyway.
Yeah.
They wanted the alcohol so much that they made it themselves, and they sold it underground. So I kind of got to admire the guy.
His judgment's a little impaired.
Yeah. But I admire him for listening to it despite us telling him, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because that's how much he likes it. And then he says, I'm going to financially back this podcast.
Yeah. Did he buy it? Did he buy his way back into the good graces of the podcast?
Now that's the thing. Are we setting a bad example?
Are we whores?
I think we are whores.
Okay.
It's like, are we setting a bad example?
Yeah.
Are we telling kids, like, listen, you know, it's like, if you screw up and do all this bad crap and
just
piss
pay your
people
way
off,
out of it.
yeah, just throw some money at the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that the right example we should set for our children, Mike?
I think
I mean, you and I don't have children together. But
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the money, buy your way out.
So we're just going to take his money?
Yes.
And then let the problem go away?
Yes.
Okay. All
right.
Well, Chris, welcome back to Irritable Dad Syndrome. And we thank you for being a loyal member.
Yeah.
This portion of Irritable Dad Syndrome is brought to you by Guadalupe Shrimp Po' Boy Palace. Hi, I'm Dave Lay. The sandwiches at Guadalupe's are made from the freshest lettuce, homemade bang bang sauce, and shrimp caught that day. These sandwiches taste so good you'll come back the next day wanting more. With 9 locations in the U.S., Canada, and Vermont, there's bound to be one near you somewhere. So check out Guadalupe Shrimp Po' Boy Palace and tell them Dave sent you. Now back to the show.
So loyal listeners know that I hate musicals.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to the realization through multiple discussions that one of a movie that I really enjoy, Rocket Man, is indeed a musical.
Yes, it is.
Now I gave it a pass.
Okay.
Because it's Elton John's music. It was they were songs.
Wait, you don't like Elton John?
I do like Elton John.
Okay,
I have tickets to see Elton John next year.
Okay.
But they were songs written to be a song. Right?
Right. Yes.
It wasn't a guy walking down the street talking about walking down the street and I'm going to sing a song about it.
Right.
It was Elton John making music, and the movie made that into a musical to illustrate his life.
To take a rock band's name and make it into a verb, they ABBA'd Elton John.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I gave that one a pass. So my kids are going right now. Charlie specifically is on a Rocky kick. Andrew was before. We went through the Rocky movies. Now I'm going through them again with Charlie. So we hit Rocky IV.
Right.
All right. I really like Rocky IV. It's one of the first Rocky movies I distinctly remember going to the movies to see when I was a kid.
With the one with the Russian, right?
With Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a musical. It is a musical.
There's no shortcut home.
No, it's an hour and a half long. It's an hour and a half long, or at least I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it is right now.
Well, the fight scene feels like an hour and a half
There's
long.
at least 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes of montages and stuff just set to music, like music videos.
Yes.
And I know that this is when MTV was on the rise and all that, on the rise, like they overtook America. They kind of did.
Well, they did.
They did. But
then they went away.
As we were watching the movie, I'm like, every 5 to 10 minutes,
yes,
another montage started or another musical bit. And I'm like, halfway through it, I'm like, oh my God, one of my favorite movies as a kid and all through adulthood. I love the Rocky movies. I've talked about them ad infinitum
I
on the
have
show.
too. Yeah.
Rocky 4 is a musical.
Yeah.
There's so much in there. I
Yeah.
mean, and to further drive that point home on Spotify, because Spotify and Google and all these groups are listening, Facebook, they're listening to you on your phone. So it just puts up recommendations. Hey, maybe you want to listen to this. There's a Rocky soundtrack, the Spirit of Rocky or the something of Rocky.
Yeah.
It's almost all Rocky 4 tunes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have on CD, the best of the music from all the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
It has Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Has
3.
Burning Heart
That's from 4.
By Survivor.
Yeah.
My first rock concert was Bryan Adams' Survivor.
That's awesome.
Okay. And it has a No Easy Way Out
That's from 4.
by Robert Tepper.
Yeah.
Okay. Living in America.
That's from 4.
That's from 4. Yeah.
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 Right. Yeah, James Brown has a whole thing. So, I mean, we literally just watched this the other night. We got those 3 that you mentioned. There's a musical number with Polly's Robot. The one where if you watch it now, you think that robot's doing a little bit more than bringing him beer.
Hey, Polly, hey, Hey, Polly, snow cone, Polly.
Polly, I will clean that up for you. That robot thing.
Right.
All right.
I love you too, Polly.
You've got the war music montage. It's on the soundtrack. That's what happens in the middle of the fight with Drago, between Rocky and Drago.
It's like the iron.
It kicks in. It's like it's kind of like the training montage, which is another musical thing. They have the Hearts on Fire, where Rocky's running up the mountain.
By
that thing.
John. I can't remember who did Hearts on Fire.
Yeah, you've got your usual Rocky music. Dan, dan, da, da, dan, da, da, dan, da, da, da.
Okay.
And then a thing that Rocky did, the Rocky series did, that they don't do anymore, and I wish they did, is they always played the last 5 minutes of the previous Rocky movie to begin the next Rocky movie. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So there's the music that's involved in that.
Yeah.
So you put all that together. I was doing this math in my head today when I should have been doing work.
Right.
At least 30% of that movie is a music video.
Yeah.
And the realization, the point where I made that realization, there's a moment where Rocky wants to go fight Drago.
Yeah.
Apollo's dead.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. I'm sorry for a
what?
40-year-old movie or whatever. Apollo's dead. He feels like he needs to go fight. What's her face? Adrian is like, no, you don't need to go do that. What are you trying to prove? He goes out. He gets in his Ferrari. Now, okay. So Rocky 1 and 2. Southpaw is the license plate.
Yeah.
So in the early movies,
STHPA.
like movie 1 or 2, he's like he looked weird when he was young. Let's be honest. He like started looking normal in Rocky 3 and
He
Rocky
finally
4.
grew into his face.
He grew into his face, like it stretched out over his skull correctly. Before that, he just looks like his name's Biff. And then after that, it looks like his name is Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I ever meet him and he ever listens to this and he wants to kick my butt. I'm sorry.
He can.
He looked weird back then. But anyway, the point is that he's going off for a drive because he's mad at Adrian. And it is the most
longest montage
MTV-ish.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
Teen angst. He's driving, and it's got this like, and he's like, he's like looking off. He's looking forlorn, and he's shifting right
close
when the
up
beat
of the
hits.
eyes, close up
And
of the
I'm
hand.
Like, this all it needs.
You see the brake and the clutch
Oh
going
yeah.
out.
You remember MTV had those little like words, like what the title and
the exclusive.
That's all it needed, and it's an MTV music video.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's when it hit me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm watching basically a Chicago, or I'm, name another musical, Les Mis, or whatever the hell these people watch that like musicals.
Wicked. Yeah.
I like musicals now because there's Rocket Man and Rocky 4.
So you're
and they
ready,
both have rock in the name.
So you're ready to watch The Greatest Showman, right?
That one doesn't have songs written to be songs, because in Rocky, those songs were written to be songs. The only one that was tainted by the movie or touched by the movie was Eye of the Tiger.
Right.
That one was in there for a bit, because when the two gloves, the American and the Russian glove, come up, it's Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone worked with Survivor to put that together. So that's the closest it became to being a musical in terms of him tainting the music. The Greatest Showman to me seems like a guy's going to walk into a elephant thing and sing about a poop.
I'm telling you, if you would just trust me, if you would just believe me, I was the same way.
I don't want Hugh Jackman to start singing about something.
I don't listen to me. Stop being such an arrogant. It went for years. I didn't watch this movie because I thought my kids aren't going to sit through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I finally tried it out on Disney Plus. Okay.
Oh, it's free. So it's on there.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. I'm 5 minutes into it and I pause it and I look at the family like, okay, this is amazing. And they're all like, yeah, why did you pause it? I was totally digging it. Libby was digging it. Both the boys were on, just could not stop watching that. So you're finally starting to get into some cool musicals. This is the coolest, most jammin' musical. Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it.
All right.
Back to Rocky.
Okay.
What did you think about the Creed movies?
I love the Creed movies.
They were amazing.
The movie, the Rocky. So and I think I mentioned this in episode 45.
I thought we were done with Rocky.
I did too. I thought we were done with Rocky Balboa.
Right.
I've never seen Rocky 5. So I have the Rocky series over here.
You don't
and
need to.
We own Creed 1 and 2 on Vudu.
You don't need
So we have all the movies. I've never seen 5. Charlie wants to watch it next, so I will see it for the first time. Okay. I know it has something to do with him training some guy that ends up being a dick, and then he has to fight him, and there's like a street fight.
They're
something
fighting
weird
in
with
the
this
street.
Kid.
Yeah, it's no rules. Fighting bare knuckle,
so
hitting each other with garbage cans.
Well, yeah. So I think Rocky.
Sylvester Stallone said that he tried as hard as he could to burn every copy of that. He couldn't buy them back.
Yeah,
he couldn't wipe people's memories clean.
Yeah,
and so that's why he made Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa is an amazing.
It was
film.
great. It was great.
I loved and I knew. So having not seen Rocky 5, I knew Rocky 5 was a stinker.
Yeah.
And then Rocky Balboa came out, and I can be easily marketed to. Mm-hmm. So my idiot mind said, "Oh, it's called Rocky Balboa. This must be like a reboot or a cool new direction." And it was basically Rocky 1, kind of, but he's like an old dude, and he's trying to get back into it. But
spoiler alert: Adrian was gone. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's like owns a little diner. He owns her diner, Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian.
And then, Creed 1, I kind of watched that one. The only reason I watched Creed was because Rocky Balboa was so good. Mm-hmm. And I thought the only reason this guy's going back to the well is if he has something else to tell. That's before Rambo 5 came out. And I saw that he can go back. And
life's not about how hard you hit.
It's about how hard you get hit
and get back up.
That's right.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah. So Sylvester Stallone, so we started talking a little bit about in the episode.
I want Sylvester Stallone to be a guest on the show. We'll edit out the part of him growing into his face.
I am a diehard Sylvester Stallone fan. I thought he was kind of goofy. I always, as a kid, I loved the Rocky movies. I think everybody does. My kids now, there's something timeless about those movies. My kids now love them.
Yeah.
Andrew came down while we were watching Rocky 4. And he was like glued to the seat watching the fight with Drago. He just couldn't. And Charlie was losing his mind. But he kind of in the 80s, and I thought about this a little bit today. Back in the 80s, Sylvester Stallone movies were surrounded by Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those type of 80s type movies. They all kind of seemed samey.
Yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger had this weird competition with each other, which we've talked.
Stallone did Stop or My Mom Will Shoot because he heard Schwarzenegger was going to do it.
Yeah. So people, and when I try to explain to people, younger people, is they don't so when they look back, everybody kind of knows Sylvester Stallone's story now, that he was, broke. He used his last dollar to do Rocky. They offered him a lot of money, and he was like, "No, I need to be the star." He sold his dog, because he was homeless. Right. I mean, that's a story.
And then he bought the dog back.
He bought the dog back. But you look at the story of Rocky, a lot of that mirrors his own life.
They wanted to make it, but without him.
Yeah,
and he's like, "No dice. There's no way you're doing this unless I'm in it."
So we didn't know that when we were going through the 80s. I didn't know that.
Right.
And then
I was a kid.
He kind of had this thing of like he was kind of
70s.
Yeah. Well, then all through the 80s were like the Rocky 3 and 4 and those. But he also had like this meathead kind of thing, and like idiot me as a kid was like, well, that's what he's playing as
He's
Rocky.
taking too many hits to the head.
In Rambo,
he never blocks his face.
In Rambo, he's playing like a disturbed vet that can't, and you see later, he's got a lot of range with Copland and freaking Rocky Balboa.
Copland
is badass.
Yes.
And then you realize he wrote all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The dude's a smart guy. The dude's amazing. So as we get older, I mean, you talk to me again in 10 years, I'll be throwing him up for like an Academy Award for whatever. I'm like it.
So he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, he was a sentimental favorite and he lost.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I can't remember how many people have been nominated for the same character twice, but it's a very small number of people.
Right.
But here's the thing about Sylvester Stallone. He's a movie star. He's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But what he's done that not a lot of people have done was not only did he, become rich and famous and whatever, he created the character of Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Okay. More than a character. When you see Rocky, it instills that part of your heart and the image, and it makes your mind want to
succeed
and
push.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it did. And he touched people's hearts.
Yeah,
he just inspired, he encouraged, and he is just a role model for, oh my God.
Absolutely.
And then it's like any single person who's ever trained for anything at one time has heard dun 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 dun
yeah.
dun dun.
Well, that and plus with the Expendables. I mean, walk with me down this road for a minute here.
I was like, we're not getting into these.
We're going to get into him
Kelsey
briefly.
Grammer was in the Expendables.
We're going to get into him briefly because what the Expendables is a guy nearing the end of his life, and he just wants to do something fun with his friends.
And I'm going to bring every single person I know.
Yeah, it's like him and Arnold Schwarzenegger have been close friends. He's been close friends. He brought back Dolph Lundgren, all these people he's worked with.
Harrison Ford was in it.
I don't think Sylvester Stallone gave one piss whether anybody saw that movie or not. He was all about getting together with his buddies and shooting.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that. I love that.
He got Harrison Ford to be in one of those.
He did.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of him.
Yeah.
And he got, I think, Van Damme. There were a couple people that poo-pooed him.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
They poo-pooed him in the beginning, but then after they saw that they were awesome and fun, they kind of came into it.
Tell me, why was Kelsey Grammer in that movie?
I don't know.
He stood out.
I also...
you might as well put Bob Ross.
Yeah. So you have these examples of where, Sylvester Stallone is doing all this awesome stuff. And then you go back and you look at Demolition Man. Ooh, and Cobra.
Yeah. Cobra.
I love Cobra. But it changes it for me. So
Tango and Cash was really good.
So back when I was a kid, and I'll get off this topic in a minute, I loved Above the Law with Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Steven Seagal is kind of
he's a nut.
I've never met him, but he's kind of crazy and he's kind of a jerk. You know what I mean? Of what I've seen on the YouTubes. But the more that I hear of how genuine and nice and generous Sylvester Stallone is, it allows me to go back and see Cobra and think that he was kind of he knew he looked like a badass.
Yeah.
He wanted to do something different. Got the matchstick,
the sunglasses,
he's just
the jacket.
He's like eating this 80s up.
I remember the only line I remember from that was he said he always wished his name was Alice. I always wish I had a more macho name. Like what? Alice.
Yeah, it's a good movie, man. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we went a long way around the block there. But yeah, I finally admit, I think I'm going to have to stop saying that I hate musicals because I like Rocky IV.
Yeah, Rocky IV was badass. It was really, really good.
The show's over, folks. Time to go back to work.